Wonderful World of Disney presents the story of Walt Disney. It's a personal look at the man who brought us Mickey and the Matterhorn. His childhood, his family life, and the world he created.
A beautiful tomorrow, just a dream away.
Dick Van Dyke narrates Walt, the man behind the myth. ABC next. Welcome to the wonderful world of Disney.
Hello, I'm Michael Eisner, and I'd like to express the deep sadness that all of us at the Walt Disney Company feel for the families and the friends of those lost and injured in the tragic events of the past week. This has been one of the darker moments our country has ever faced. But out of the darkness, the light of inspiration is found. From the police and firefighters who put their lives at risk to the ordinary citizens who waited countless hours to donate blood, the common thread is that we all want to help. And in the days ahead, what remains is perhaps the most important course of action we can take. A return to the way of life that is the very cornerstone of our country. That is why we feel it is especially appropriate to bring you a program that celebrates the life of a man whose spirit transcended national borders and brought the people of the world a little closer together. His name is Walt Disney, and now more than ever, his memory, his words, and his work inspirit all of us.
In 1964, on opening night of Mary Poppins, Walter Elias Disney had reached the pinnacle of his career. The man who arrived in Hollywood some 40 years earlier with a half-finished cartoon in his suitcase had become one of the leading figures of film entertainment.
I tried to convince her I was capable of making a picture with live actors as well as cartoons. I didn't know what she thought of.
Who was Walt Disney? Even those who worked with him for years often struggled to define the man. For many, he remains an enigma. 2 years after the Mary Poppins premiere, Walt was dead, and the enigma began to pass into myth. Walt was born in Chicago in 1901 to Flora and Elias Disney, in a house his father had constructed with his own hands. Elias was a contractor who built a number of homes as well as the church in the neighborhood. In 1906, Walt, his 3 older brothers, and his younger sister Ruth moved to a 45-acre farm in tiny Marceline, Missouri. Walt loved the farm and learned the value of teamwork. The family stayed there for 5 years when a bad case of typhoid weakened Elias and made it impossible to wrest a living from the earth. The family moved to Kansas City, where Elias had purchased a newspaper room. Walt and Roy worked for him, and worked hard.
I was about 9 or 10 when I started that they'd deliver our papers at 4:30, that we had to get up and be there at 4:30 in the morning.
The father was a tough taskmaster, a real perfectionist. Their mother brought much needed laughter and warmth into the family.
His mother was a warm, loving, wonderful woman. I wish I'd known her, met her. My father adored her.
Well, Flora was sort of my favorite grandmother all along. She was more fun than a barrel of monkeys, and she loved kids, kind of not unlike the way Walt did, I think.
In Kansas City, Walt showed his first talent for entertainment. Inspired by vaudeville acts and Charlie Chaplin films, he put together skits with a friend and neighbor named Walt Pfeiffer.
Together we had a little act. He was the straight man, with me as Chaplin, and then we would go to these amateur things.
In June of 1917, Walt graduated from the 7th grade at Benton School. Flora, Elias, and Ruth moved to Chicago, where Elias had invested in a jelly factory, the Ozell Company. 15-year-old Walt stayed with his brother Herb for the summer. He got a job as a news butch, selling soda pop and newspapers to passengers on the railroad. When summer ended, Walt joined his family in Chicago. School wasn't of much interest, except for creating cartoons, which were published in the school paper. Many of Walt's cartoons showed his growing interest in the Great War that was being fought in Europe. Like many young Americans at the time, he was desperate to join the action.
Walt was only 16 years old, though. There was no way that they were going to let him into the Army or the Navy. Well, finally he heard of a Red Cross unit forming that would take 17-year-olds. And he figured he could manage that, because that was only a year off. After his mother had signed his passport application, he did a little forgery on it and changed the birth year. So he became a 17-year-old and was able to get into the Red Cross with a friend of his from school.
In 1918, Germany signed an armistice. However, the Red Cross Ambulance Corps still needed more drivers to help with post-war operations in France. Walt arrived in France and was put to work making deliveries, driving ambulances, or chauffeuring important officers. He took up smoking. It developed into a lifelong addiction. After about a year, Walt left France and went back to Kansas City. He knew what he wanted to do.
He said, I want to be an artist. And of course, Elias was shocked. He said, you can't make a living as an artist. Walt said, I'm going to try.
Elias' jelly factory failed. Roy was discharged from the Navy. The whole Disney clan, minus older son Ray, wound up together again in the old Disney house in Kansas City.
So there were quite a lot of us there. There were 5 children, and they were all living at home. I had lots of wonderful uncles who just thought I was the cutest. And so I'm afraid I might have been a bit spoiled.
Walt's first jobs were relatively uneventful until he took a position at the Kansas City Film Ad Company, helping to make simple cartoons. Here, he met Ub Iwerks, who would go on to become a brilliant animator. Walt used books from the Kansas City Public Library to learn more about animation. He took a borrowed camera to the shed behind his house and began to make cartoons of his own. He called them Laugh-O-Grams and sold the first one to the Newman Theater in Kansas City.
And one of the great things about it, I think, is that it opens with that wonderful shot of Walt sitting at his drawing board. This is Walt Disney at the beginning of his journey, and we have a privileged glimpse of it. This is one segment that we can say is fully animated by Walt Disney himself. I think he really wanted to get into full animation, and he realized just from the laborious nature of little short scenes like the police station scene, that this was not something that one person wanted to do alone. So that's when he went around and recruited people to start the Laugh-O-Grams company. And they made films which are referred to today as modernized fairy tales. Basically what they did was take a fairy tale but then do a contemporary spin on it. So when he does his version of Puss in Boots, for example, this is the cat with his master going to the movies and seeing a parody of the latest Rudolph Valentino picture. These are just a bunch of kids. They don't have a worldwide organization behind them. These are a bunch of boyhood friends who have developed a common interest in animated cartoons and want to give it a whirl. So they're doing things by trial and error. They are learning techniques as they go along, and you get to see them doing that as you watch the films. It's very impromptu, and it's just a lot of fun.
And I was carrying a full milk bottle, And then he reversed the film so that I backed up. The milk all came up in the bottle. That was one little film that we did.
In 1922, Roy developed tuberculosis and was sent to a sanitarium. The rest of the family decided to move to Portland, Oregon, and Walt devoted himself to his work. On May 23rd, he officially incorporated Laugh-O-Gram Films in a two-room suite in the McConaughey building. He was 20 years old.
When pictorial clubs signed the contract for the Laugh-O-Grams, the contract specified that Disney and his co-workers were to get $11,100. What they got was the $100. That was it. I think a lot of people would be tempted to become very conservative and do something easy and safe. What Disney does is go out and blow it all on the most lavish film he can possibly make, and it was called Alice's Wonderland.
It was shot in my mother's house, at least the live-action part of it. And that is where he introduced the idea of the cartoons. And when I came home, I was to be put to bed, and then I dreamt the whole sequence of the Alice cartoons.
Halfway through the production, Walt was broke. Laugh-O-Grams went out of business. In July of 1923, Walt sold his movie camera. He would go where all the movie makers go. He would head for Hollywood. At first, Walt avoided animation. He believed it was too late to compete with the big studios in New York. But when no other opportunities opened up, he persuaded his uncle, Robert Disney, who lived on Kingswell Avenue in Los Angeles, to let him turn his garage into a cartoon studio. Walt then sent the unfinished print of Alice's Wonderland to a cartoon distributor named Margaret Winkler. On October 15th, Winkler sent a telegram back.
So Walt came out to Roy's barracks and said, Roy, I've got a deal with a New York distributor, and I want you to come in with me. I need your help. And Roy left the hospital, never went back, never had a recurrence of TB, and that's how the Disney Brothers studio was formed.
Walt sent for Virginia Davis, the star of the series. Her family moved to California. Walt bought a second-hand camera for $200 and set up shop in a small store on Kingswell Avenue. A few months later, Walt asked Ub Iwerks, his old friend from Kansas City, to join him. Walt and Roy took a room together, but the place was small, and the two men got on each other's nerves. With a steady income now secure, Roy decided to propose to his childhood sweetheart, Edna. She accepted. Walt, meanwhile, was smitten with a young woman he'd hired to ink and paint the celluloids. Her name was Lillian Bounds.
He had a little car, and he would drive Mother and another young woman that worked for him then home every evening, and Mother took great delight in the fact that even though Mother was the nearest, he would take the other girl home first and then drop Mother off on the way back.
On April 11th, 1925, Roy and Edna were married at Uncle Robert's house.
And Dad is obviously so delighted with Mother. You know, any excuse to hug her. And she looks very pleased to be the object of his affection. And not long after that, they decided that they would get married too. They went up to Lewiston, Idaho, where her mother was. The dress she made herself. My cousin Marjorie remembers that Mother giggled throughout the service, the ceremony. And then they went on a honeymoon to Mount Rainier.
Just 1 week before, the two brothers made the down payment on a new lot on Hyperion Avenue. They planned to build a brand new studio to continue producing the Alice series. Meanwhile, their distributor, Margaret Winkler, had married a tough businessman named Charles Mintz, who took over the business. He wanted Walt to move from the Alice comedies to do something different. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit is what they came up with.
And Oswald was pretty lucky. They did very well. The films were distributed by Universal, and this was the first time that a major company had distributed Disney's cartoons. So they were being shown in major theaters with first-run films.
And then the two brothers decided, that they were both married. It was time to build a real home. They bought lots, adjoining lots, not far from the Hyperion studio, on a little hillside street. It was probably the finest home that anybody in their family had ever had at that point.
Lily's mother lived with them for a while. Hazel did too, with her teenage daughter, Marjorie.
One Christmas, my father presented my mother with a hat box. When she opened it, there was a little chow puppy inside.
In February of 1928, the contract for Oswald the Rabbit was up for renewal. Together with Lily, Walt boarded a train to New York to strike a new deal. But Mintz had an unpleasant surprise.
And Mintz told him, no, you will not get more money. In fact, you will take less, and revealed that he had hired away virtually Walt's entire staff except for Ub Iwerks, and that they were taking the Oswald character to someone else.
Now, I think it needs to be made clear that this was standard practice at the time. The distributor owned the rights to the character.
He wired Roy. Everything okay? I'll explain when I get home, or something like that. And on the way home in the train, he was brainstorming, and Mother was there, and he said, I think I need a new character. I think it will be a mouse, and I think I'll call him Mortimer. And Mother said, and she is so proud at this moment, Mortimer? I don't like Mortimer. What about Mickey?
Walt presented his ideas to Ub Iwerks, who refined and animated the character. They began the first cartoon with Mickey Mouse, plain crazy, in total secrecy. Walt didn't have any initial success finding a distributor for his new character. He knew that he needed something revolutionary.
The idea of blending sound and animation wasn't new, but what was typical of Disney was that he went ahead and made sure that he could do it better and more effectively than anyone else had up until then.
He struck a deal with a fellow named Pat Powers, who would provide the necessary sound equipment to theaters, as well as distribute the cartoon.
Then we used to put the sound on afterwards, and in those days you couldn't do what we call dubbing today, where you could mix a lot of tracks. It wasn't yet science that you could get away with, so we used to have to do everything at one time. And we used to have to run the cartoon. We'd have the fellows with the sound effects, we had the people with the voices, we had the orchestra going, and everybody had to synchronize.
If you were in the audience in the Colony Theater in New York in November of 1928, you had never seen anything like this before. There was a character laughing and dancing and whistling and singing, coordinated to the music more perfectly than anything you would have seen before.
Hurry up, Poodle!
Walt was Mickey's original voice because he couldn't find an actor who did it the way he liked it. He would say, it's high, it's not falsetto, it's like this. And they finally said, Walt, you do it.
Shh, he'll hear you.
And many of the artists maintain that Mickey was really kind of an alter ego for Walt, that when they see him moving and acting, that he really is kind of Walt up on the screen.
Mickey Mouse had made Walt famous. But Walt wanted to explore new ideas for animated films.
And playing with music and doing things with music was intriguing and everything. So I started the Silver Symphony, and I made the first one, they call it the Skeleton Dance.
It really doesn't have much of a plot. It's basically some skeletons emerge from their tomb at night and dance some rather jaunty dances, and smash each other and play each other and bounce up and down and have a good time in this very rubbery animation, all set to Edvard Grieg's March of the Dwarves.
When I was 7, I went to the movies and saw the Skeleton Dance. So many times my father had to come and drag me out of the theater.
The guy thought in terms of entertainment, and that was the wonderful thing about him, and that's what I guess made us all so loyal to him.
He was looking for something that was different. He was looking for something that was way out in front of what anybody else was doing in the business of animation.
As he cared enough to want to make it absolutely perfect, he'd do it over and over again until it worked, until it was right.
They say it started very small, as most dreams do. A twinkle in an eye, the thrill of something new. And the dream began to grow and come alive, touching every one of us, lighting up the sky. We share a magic day, we share enchanted night. It's a never-ending story, that together we are right. It's been a part of me, it's been a part of you.
Join us for a year-long celebration as we remember the 100th birthday of the man who started it all. Make your plans at DisneyWorld.com.
We share a dream come true.
For his first attempt, a 360 tomahawk.
Introducing new Tostito Scoops.
Amazing. And now the alley-oop reverse.
With the bite-sized bowl-shaped design.
Oh, my. And what everyone's been waiting for, the two-handed thunder.
For the perfect dip every time.
Oh, the judges have to be impressed.
New Tostito Scoops. The dip lover's chip. Also great with new Queso Supreme dip.
Hey, Mom, Dad wants to know what's for dinner. Tell him nothing until he apologizes to me. Mom said no dinner until you apologize.
Forget it. She'll me the apology.
Dad says he's really sorry. He wants to take us to McDonald's to make up for it. He said that? Yeah. Mom says you were right. She thinks we should go to McDonald's.
Really?
No. Oh, please go to McDonald's now.
Disney's One Saturday Morning is getting Zig-powered with Lizzie McGuire.
When I'm good, I am really good. Oops, I need you to be here without actually being here. Wait, what?
Finally, it's interesting.
The name for that was...
And even Stevens.
Should I thank you now or later? The whole thing was disgusting and juvenile.
Premiering Saturday on ABC.
The wonderful world of Disney's new season begins with an epic film of miniature proportions.
We are gonna knock them dead!
For the first time on television ever.
It's a bug-eat-bug world out there.
Someone could get hurt.
I think I'm going to vet myself.
Take a ride with the biggest little heroes.
Two flags, don't bother me.
A Bug's Life. ABC in 2 weeks, 7/6 Central.
Hey, turn your butt off.
I'm Bob Timberlake. When my wife Kay fell and broke her back and we were afraid she might be paralyzed, we chose Carolina's Medical Center.
U.S. News and World Report named Carolina's Medical Center one of America's best hospitals in orthopedics. Its physicians are recognized internationally, and it has the region's only Level 1 trauma center.
We chose Carolina's Medical Center, and look at her now. She's back.
渴望的传奇。他们开始寻觅甘露。
半营之路总比空无一路好些。
not make it to the big time, but you can make it to the big game with Alltel. Just enter for a chance to win Alltel's Ultimate Football Fantasy Sweepstakes. You and 3 lucky friends could get VIP tickets and treatment at one of this season's biggest games. So make a play for the nearest Alltel store today. We'll get you in on all the action.
Traffic and weather together. Eyewitness News Daybreak starting at 5 a.m.
We now return to the wonderful world of Disney.
In late 1930, Roy began to suspect that Powers had withheld large sums of royalties. He surmised that Powers wanted to take over the Disney studio. Believing Ub Iwerks to be the key to their success, he lured Iwerks away. Ub would return to the studio some years later and become an expert in special effects. When Ub left, Walt was hurt. But at least this time, he owned the Mickey character.
There was times when we weren't proceeding. I think he had a sense of destiny. And he knew where he wanted to go. And he wanted to get on with it always.
On January 10th, 1930, Edna gave birth to a baby boy named Roy Edward. For some time, Walt had been ready to start a family, but Lily wanted to wait. As the youngest of 10 children in a family of humble means, Lily had seen how hard her mother and older sister were forced to work. Her life with Walt was romantic and exciting, and they were enjoying every minute of it. After a few years, when Lily decided the time had come for children, it wasn't to be that easy. Lily suffered 2 miscarriages. Combined with the pressures of the studio, Walt felt physically and emotionally drained.
I did. In 1931, I had a hell of a breakdown. I went all to pieces. It was just that, and I cracked up. I just got very irritable. I got to the point that I couldn't talk on the telephone. I'd begin to cry. I had to go away.
And everybody went to the train station to see them off. So they went to Washington, D.C., I believe, and then on to Cuba on a steamship. And I think they came on through the Panama Canal. And I think it was a very languorous, very relaxing, and maybe very romantic trip for them.
Walt decided he needed to exercise to work out the tension in his life. Golf, wrestling, and boxing didn't quite work out.
And this, you must remember, was the macho time of films. This is when the men tried to simulate, in a sense, the characters they played on film. And they were athletes, and they jumped into things they weren't really equipped to do, like polo, which is a very, very difficult game. Gable and Spence Tracy and Bob Montgomery, and they would have these tailgate parties with the wicker baskets and the champagne and the caviar and the whole song and dance, which was not really typical of the way Hollywood was at all.
While he was riding around scrimmaging with the Argentine team, one of the Argentine players backed the ball, and Walt turned around just about the time that the ball came, and you know, these balls are hard wooden objects, and it hit Walt and really hurt him badly. And at that point, the insurance company told Walt that he had to quit playing polo.
In 1932, Walt began work on a particularly risky Silly Symphony project.
Flowers and Trees began as a black and white Silly Symphony, and Disney somehow learned about the Technicolor process, signed a deal for its exclusive use in animation for, I believe, 3 years, and then announced to his brother Roy that they were going to reshoot this film that was half done all in color, which probably about trebled the cost and sent Roy's blood pressure up a number of degrees.
I think probably 9 times out of 10, and my Dad's question would always be, where am I going to get the money to do it, not is that a good idea or not. I think he really wanted his little brother to do anything he wanted to do because he recognized the power of those ideas.
Flowers and Trees was repainted and shot from scratch. Color catapulted the Silly Symphonies to new heights of popularity. The Academy crowned Flowers and Trees with an Oscar, the first ever given to a cartoon. The Silly Symphonies, especially Three Little Pigs, had honed a new class of animators, able to produce fluid movements in characters in highly realistic settings. In May of 1933, Lily told Walt she was pregnant again. In December, Diane Marie Disney was born.
The morning of my birth, she said her water broke, and my dad cried. He was so excited. We had a wonderful home, this second home, the home that I came into in the Los Feliz Hills, and many wonderful Sundays with a lot of the animators and other people that worked with them would come with their families, and a lot of fun and games in the swimming pool.
How's the old kitty go? How's the old kitty cat go? Huh?
Walt had long since stopped doing animation himself. He guided his creative staff, focusing on story development.
Walt had many faces, and the face he showed his family was entirely different from the face he showed his animators and his artists. There he was a taskmaster, a very stern one. He could be very tough, and he would never praise.
Well, one of his non-traditional techniques was to put two antagonists together. He liked the friction that came with that. He thought something creative would come out of that. He also, if he had a team working together that liked each other too much, he would break them up.
He found it very difficult to say to you, hey, Mark, that's a beautiful job.
He turns to Frank and he says, I hear you got the best scene in the picture.
He would tell other people about you. You never heard it firsthand. It was always secondhand.
He said, I hear you've got the best scene in the picture. That's pretty evasive. That's the closest you'll come to getting a compliment.
And he was not denying anybody praise. It was just, he thought it was the best way to do it.
He would test you sometimes. I mean, he would test people to see if they could defend, what they believed in.
He had a marvelous way of making you want to please him, and when you pleased him, you didn't touch ground for a day or two.
And you just feel yourself rise up out of the chair.
Well, he was quite outspoken about anything he didn't like, particularly when we were what they call sweatbox, where we would run off the day's animation, the roughs. And they called them sweat boxes because literally you went in and you sweat blood.
And this is the great story of Walt's eyebrow coming down and tapping his fingers on the table. I thought, oh, God, I'm in trouble now.
He'd hunch forward in his seat. His eyebrow, very animated eyebrow, would go up and start looking. He'd scowl because he was concentrating so hard. And this was terribly unnerving.
If Walt looked like he was in a bad humor, the guard would say, bear suit. And we all knew that this is not a good day.
One day he would come in and apparently be like a wounded bear, growling and scowling, and yet if he saw something on the storyboard that caught his fancy, he would jump up and become the character and make everybody laugh.
Walt sent artists to classes at the Chouinard Art Institute.
The first thing I did when I got a little money to experiment, I put all my artists back in school. The art schools that existed then didn't quite have enough for what we needed. So we set up our own art school. Now, we were dealing in motion, movement, and the flow of movement, the flow of things, you know, action, reaction, all of that.
With his newly trained animators, Walt thought the studio was ready at last to break out of cartoon shorts.
I don't know why I picked Snow White. It's the thing I remembered as a kid. I saw Marguerite Clark in it in Kansas City one time when I was a newsboy. To me, I thought it was a perfect story. I had the sympathetic dwarfs and things. I had the prince and the girl, the romance.
He called a meeting and had a large group over on the soundstage one evening, and he went through and told the story. And so we were all a little nervous about it, but we sat around in half circle, as I recall, and he started telling the story, and of course, typical of Walt, he was a terrific actor, but he couldn't do it by memorizing lines or doing anything rehearsed.
Back at home, Walt was happy with his little family. In fact, he wanted more children. Lily's doctors didn't agree.
My mother had been told that she should not try to have another child because she had had another pregnancy after my birth that ended in a miscarriage. So my father had pursued the idea of adoption, and there was a great deal of secrecy around adoption at that time. I'd been told I was getting a sister, and I was very excited. Looking out the window, I saw the car door open, and my sister was there.
Sharon May Disney had joined the family. Walt's home was his sanctuary, but his family knew they had to share Walt with the studio and the one project that could spell success or failure, Snow White. Meetings focused on every detail. When, for example, should Snow White notice the presence of the huntsman behind her? Gags and ideas were constantly being added or cut, a process that Walt called plussing.
I did a soup sequence for Snow White. It was very funny. Everybody laughed, and so did Walt. She calls them in, dang, 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 and she serves soup to them. All the funny ways that they slurp the soup, especially Dopey. And he called me up to his office. He says, I've been looking at the film, and I'm going to have to take out the soup sequence. I've spent 8 months on it. And he gave me a reason he says, I've got to get back to the witch. And it kind of hurt.
We had the family fortune. We had everything wrapped up in Snow White. In fact, the banker, I think, was losing more sleep than I was.
He was literally mortgaged to the hilt. Every nickel he could raise, borrow, beg, he put into that film. Now, it wasn't the first animated feature. There had been a couple made in Argentina in the teens. In Europe, there had been Lotte Reiniger's Adventures of Prince Ahmed. But the idea that this kind of fully animated, Technicolor, spectacular film could be made in animation was an extraordinarily bold stroke, and yet a very logical one.
On December 21st, 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs had its premiere at the Carthay Circle Theater.
Big, grand Hollywood premiere. It was quite a climax to something, you know, because it went way back. All the Hollywood brass turned out for a cartoon. So it was an exciting thing to have that premiere. The darn thing went out and grossed $8 million around the world.
Lucy, she's my little girl, but I have to take care of her too. Yeah, because I like to make sure that she's healthy. You know, wholesome grains for energy and a shiny coat. Real beef for protein to help build strong muscles. Even vegetables with vitamins. She only thinks she's getting spoiled.
Healthful, flavorful, Beneful. New Beneful brand by Purina.
This is hands down my favorite place to catch a movie. Nice company seats, and it's got great RCA digital technology.
You know what I like best, Bing?
What?
I never have to get up to get popcorn.
Come to Radio Shack and get a 7-piece RCA Dolby Digital Home Theater System for just $299.99 and bring the movie experience home. Radio Shack. You've got questions. We've got answers.
Just for you, Burger King cheeseburgers are bigger than the other guys. Right now, a tasty single is just 49 cents, and a double cheeseburger is just 99 cents.
The Santa Fe from Hyundai. Full-time, four-wheel drive, V6 power, and the freedom of America's best warranty plans. The Santa Fe. You're in for a long, smooth ride.
Dad dyed his hair. Got a rash on it. Mom made Dad get a new secretary. I have to sleep on the sofa. Mom had to cut up all her credit cards. We don't pay for cable. My sister dresses like a floozy.
Need a little quiet time? Give him a Quaker Chewy. Wholesome granola now mixed with delicious chunks of Nestle Baby Ruth bars. And look, they're so happy they're speechless. Quaker Chewy granola bars. Chewy stops the chatter.
It's like flick, doing, swoosh. Whoa. Cool. Flick.
New clarifying toner from Clean and Clear.
Doing.
The vitamin-enriched formula cleans deep, helps clear skin, and won't overdry. New clarifying toner. Clean and Clear and under control.
To remove more plaque than the leading toothbrush, take action with the Oral-B Cross Action. Its bristles crisscross to lift out and sweep away more harmful plaque. For the cleanest, healthy teeth, take action with the Oral-B Cross Action.
Values uniting a nation. Values showcased as the Miss America tradition continues for its 81st historic year. 51 women will come together to compete for the honor and glory of the crown. Feel the power of this special event. Miss America Live, hosted by Tony Danza, Saturday 8/7 Central on ABC.
Money poured in. Within 6 months, Roy was able to pay off the entire studio debt. Walt received a special Academy Award made up of 1 tall and 7 small figurines.
Isn't it bright and shiny?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Aren't you proud of it, Mr. Disney?
Well, I'm so proud I think I'll bust. You know, I think...
Feature-length films were the future. Walt refused to make a sequel to Snow White and opted for 3 very different stories: Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Bambi. On New Year's Day, 1938, the whole family came together to celebrate Flora and Elias's 50th wedding anniversary. For some time now, Flora, Elias, and Ruth had been living in Portland, away from their sons who were all living in California.
Roy and Walt said, no, we want the folks to come down here where the weather is better and we can keep an eye on them and they can watch their grandchildren grow up. And so they brought them down to Los Angeles and they bought them a very nice little house in the valley.
But there was a problem with the house. The gas furnace was not working properly. Walt sent studio repairmen to fix the furnace, but it continued to malfunction. Early one morning in November of 1938, Elias found his wife on the floor, overcome by gas fumes. Elias survived, but Flora died.
And this was a devastating event for Walt and Roy. And they had bought the house. They had brought their parents down here, and now their father was alone. And I think it was one of the great tragedies in both their lives.
Walt began building a new studio in Burbank. Budgeted at $3 million, he relished the opportunity to create a state-of-the-art studio, full of new ideas and technology, including the multiplane camera.
The multiplane camera had levels, and on each of these levels, we'd put a big glass on it. We could paint the foreground tree on the top one, the background, the house that you're photographing, that the characters come out, and the fourth level would be the sun and the sky. And then the camera, if it panned down through these levels, you got a third dimension effect.
I think you could find among animators and animation historians that Pinocchio is as perfect as an animated feature has ever gotten in terms of its art direction, of its animation, its layout, its special effects. It's a gorgeous film and done without with a fraction of the technology that's available to artists today.
He was great for spontaneous ideas. For instance, when Pinocchio and the Geppetto were locked inside of the whale, and they did something in there to tickle him, and the whale sneezes both of them out in their boat, out into the water. And Walt looked at it and said, well, that's interesting, it's not bad. But he said, how about them saying Gesundheit?
Gesundheit!
Which was one of the biggest laughs that picture ever got.
An even bolder experiment was Fantasia. In fact, Fantasia may have been the most original and the most unusual project Disney ever undertook.
Doing this Sorcerer's Apprentice with Mickey Mouse, and I happened to have dinner one night with Stokowski. And Stokowski said, oh, I would love to conduct that for you, you know. Well, that led to not only doing this one little short subject, but it got us involved where I did all of Fantasia.
It's still astonishing to see that film. In fact, when he was doing storyboards for, I believe, the Ave Maria section of Fantasia, one of the story people said, you know, I don't think we're using the cartoon medium as we should be with this kind of thing. And he immediately turned on the guy and said, this is not the cartoon medium. We shouldn't be just thinking of this as a cartoon. We have worlds to conquer here.
Walt wanted to reproduce the sensation of hearing music in a concert hall. The result was an early version of stereophonic sound. The construction of the Burbank studio was going well, but in September of 1939, German dictator Adolf Hitler invaded Poland, plunging Europe into the Second World War. The studio's income from overseas distribution ceased. Cash flowed out for the next feature, Bambi.
Well, it's a difficult picture because we've never done any character with anatomy, any animal with anatomy, and Walt wanted the deer to be very believable.
Walt's idea was to get all of his artists to draw in the way of the old masters and then put them to animation. They started bringing in real animals and having them on the sound stages. They would have cages with animals around the place. It became a zoo in itself.
We were just growing by leaps and bounds, and we were able to animate so many different things which were very difficult to do.
What did your father tell you this morning? If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all.
Of course, the great thing in that picture was how he presented the death of the mother. And that went through story guys saying, Walt, we got to show the mother lying there after she's shot. And Walt says, gee, I don't know, guys, that just doesn't sound quite right. The way he felt it should be was that Pammy comes back and searches, but he never sees her.
Your mother can't be with you anymore. Come, my son.
And that's all there is to it. Pammy looks back in the snow and he follows Father. He was the best story man in the studio, the best story man in Hollywood, really.
Chaplin said he believed that Walt knew more about story than anybody in Hollywood at any time. And even though he was accused of being a little too cute some of the time, maybe he was, but what are we going to do? Throw him out the window because he was a little too cute?
By 1941, the studio was $4.5 million in debt. Walt and Roy issued stock to shore up their finances, but that was just a stopgap measure. Meanwhile, staffers were afraid that the loss of revenues from Europe might mean that layoffs were coming. They were also agitated by a pay system they thought was arbitrary.
Seniority and items like that, which are very important to employees, were kind of not honored and created a festering situation.
Now, this latter union was led by a fellow named Herbert Sorrell, who was a very tough, hard-fisted, left-wing union organizer that was well-known throughout Hollywood circles. In fact, the mere mention of his name would bring many a studio boss to their knees.
And I told Mr. Sorrell that there's only one way for me to go, and that was an election, and that's what the law had set up. And he laughed at me and told me that I was naive, I was foolish. He said, you can't stand this strike, that I'll smear you and I'll make a dust bowl out of your place if I choose to.
Both sides made mistakes. Walt turned over negotiations to a hard-line studio lawyer, Gunther Lessing.
Gunther Lessing and I guess Roy Disney, we took over the handling of the situation.
They were all my friends. I couldn't go past them. And a lot of the guys that went through the picket line were my friends also. And I tried to encourage them to come out and join us.
I think until that moment that Walt really thought of everybody as friends working together. And he was astonished to see the ingratitude of these people out there on the picket line, yelling names at him as he passed through with his daughters.
I guess maybe he was spoiled by the fact he had so much adulation and so much success.
Clearly there's sudden realization that this was a division between bosses and the workers.
He thought he was a father for these people and the children were turning against him. He was apparently, I guess, deeply disturbed.
And I told him as a matter of principle with me that I couldn't go on working with my boys feeling I had sold them down the river to him on his say-so.
In part, to escape from the strains of union negotiations, Walt accepted an invitation from the American government to take a goodwill tour of Latin America.
And while Walton was in South America, the strike was solved, and it was solved pretty poorly as far as the studios were concerned. Walt later commented, and it was pretty close to the truth, that the arbitrator had given Sorrell practically everything that they had asked for.
While Walt was in South America, he received a cable from Roy that their father, Elias, had died. At the studio, work continued on another production, Dumbo.
Look! Hot diggity! You're flying! You're flying!
Dumbo was originally scheduled to appear on the cover of Time magazine in early December of 1941, but was overtaken by an entirely different story.
A date which will live in infamy.
The studio retooled to produce training and propaganda films.
Walt I always felt more or less lost control in a sense, because we had so many of the Army brass was there at the studio, and all of them had aspirations of being a producer and whatnot. So it became kind of a puzzling time for him.
Glade candle scent. Created by nature. Captured by Glade.
Hey, Mom. Dad wants to know what's for dinner.
Tell him nothing until he apologizes to me.
Mom said no dinner until you apologize.
Forget it. She owes me the apology.
Dad says he's really sorry. He wants to take us to McDonald's to make up for it.
He said that?
Yeah. Mom says you were right. She thinks we should go to McDonald's.
Really?
No. Can we please go to McDonald's now?
On the first day of school, you want to feel like you are totally in fashion. You want your own style. Shopping is fun at Walmart. Oh, yeah. In the fall, the best thing to wear is, like, jeans. You can get any type of jean you want, like different styles. All the different colors. Walmart has the great prices, the great selection. Yeah, it's a lot more reasonable. You get twice as much clothes for the price. They can get 2 pairs maybe instead of 1. I don't know, that's kind of a hip outfit. I like it a lot.
Yeah, they look good once in a while.
Yeah, when you dress cool, you have a positive attitude and you just shine.
Comfort. It's what makes your baby happy. That's why there's Carnation Good Start, the only routine formula whose proteins are broken down to be easy to digest. They're called Comfort Proteins, and only Good Start has them. Carnation Good Start from Nestle.
Nothing shines more precious than a pearl. Electrosol 2-in-1 tabs with jet dry rinsing action, condensed into a power ball. Electrosol cleans, jet dry shines. Electrosol 2-in-1 tabs with jet dry power ball for a pearl-like shine.
Want to try Reason? Sure, thanks. What's that? Chocolate. Wow, this is good to chew. And not so sweet.
That's Reason. Mighty Chocolate Caramel covered with rich chocolate. Mighty chocolatey, mighty Reason. You gotta try them. Disney's One Saturday Morning is getting zoo-powered with Lizzie McGuire.
I can do this. Lizzie, Lizzie, Lizzie. That's the name for that was.
Even Stevens.
Should I bake you now or later? The whole thing was disgusting and juvenile.
Achoo! 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 Premiering Saturday on ABC.
The wonderful world of Disney will continue in a moment. Next Sunday, it's the comedy hit that proves true love comes in many disguises.
Somebody stop me.
Jim Carrey, Cameron Diaz.
Kiss me, my dear.
Together, heat up the screens.
Okay.
The Mask, next Sunday, 7/6 Central on ABC.
It's party time.
WSOCTV.com. The most up-to-date information on local news and weather details. Get your local news downloaded quickly from Channel 9 Eyewitness News. Log on to WSOCTV.com for the latest Storm Team 9 exclusive AccuWeather forecast. It's local news and weather together, quick, and when you want it. WSOCTV.com, the most up-to-date information on local news and weather details from Channel 9 Eyewitness News, covering the Carolinas.
Nice car, what is it? Oh, it's my new Kia Optima. I got it at Kia September clearance event. Should have got a Toyota Camry. I got leather seats. Me too. V6 engine? With Sportmatic transmission. 5-year warranty. Oh, no. Ha! 10-year. And I got $2,000 cash back, which means I paid $7,000 less than you.
Get amazing deals on 2001 models during Kia September clearance event. Hurry, event ends October 1st.
Dual front seat mounted side airbag? Got it! I'm so glad Susan set us up.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you doing Saturday?
Nothing.
At all? I went ahead and I booked the church. Yeah, I picked out the flowers, daffodils, Niagara Falls, the honeymoon suite. What do rabbits eat? Carrots.
Want steps you can really skip? Cascade Complete helps you skip scrubbing, rinsing, even adding a rinse aid, because its clean dissolve action does the work.
She's going to the bathroom. She'll be back.
Cascade Complete. Skip the sink.
Traffic and weather together. Eyewitness News Daybreak starting at 5 a.m.
We now return to the wonderful world of Disney.
Walt continued to prowl the studio on weekends.
On weekends, the studio, the new Burbank studio, became our playground, my sisters and mine. And we roller skated there. We learned to ride bikes there, rode bikes all over that lot. Sometimes Dad would join us. Dad with us did everything a normal father would do for his children and then some. He drove us to school every day of our lives until I had a driver's license and could drive. And then he continued to drive Sharon.
Walt did not want to spoil his daughters, but on occasion he did have a special surprise for them.
The most exciting Christmas for us was the Playhouse Christmas. He was directing us, and he said, now go over to the mailbox. Now go to the gate, open the gate. Now go inside. Now open the door, open the top of the door, and look out. Lean out farther. Diane, lean out farther. I fell on my face. And I'm relieved to see he dropped the camera immediately, because all I remember is when I came up crying with my bloody lip, he was still filming me.
Walt has been described as politically conservative, but through 1940 he primarily voted for Democrats. In any case, Walt firmly believed that the 1941 strike was inspired by communists.
Evidently heard that I had called them all a bunch of communists, and I believe they are.
Hollywood was a natural target for the politicians. That's the way they could make headlines. And so they would bring people before the House Un-American Activities Committee.
On October 24th, 1947, Walt followed Gary Cooper and Ronald Reagan in testifying for the congressional hearings.
And I feel that they really ought to be smoked out and shown up for what they are, so that all the good free causes in this country, all the liberalisms that really are American, can go out without this taint of communism.
One of the myths that grew out of the strike era was that Walt was anti-Semitic. When in 1955 B'nai B'rith wanted to give Walt its Man of the Year award, it researched the issue and found it to be quite untrue.
It was pure nonsense. I think that whole idea should be put to rest, and I think buried deep, because there's no validity there.
It's slander. I think Walt was the most even dispositioned, even-minded human being I ever met. If a person is a nice person, he loved you. I don't care what your color, your race, your creed.
Over the years, a number of people have asked me that same question about Walt being anti-Semitic or anti-black. I would respectfully have to disagree. That was not the man I knew. Spike Lee, who I respect a great deal as a filmmaker, made a comment once about Walt being a racist. And I'd have to say, Spike, you never met Walt. I did.
When the war ended, the studio had lost its way. Roy wanted to be financially conservative. Walt yearned for new adventures. Finally, the brothers agreed to diversify and turned to live-action films. Walt dispatched the couple, the Malotts, to Alaska to film wildlife. From miles of material, he personally crafted a storyline. The result was a half-hour feature called Seal Island. RKO, Disney's film distributor, thought it was a bad idea. Walt then ran the film in a local theater to qualify it for the Academy Awards. Seal Island won the Oscar for the Best Documentary. Soon, True Life Adventures became one of the mainstays of the Disney studio.
One of the interesting things about Walt's gradual involvement in live action was that he, without having a lot of first-hand experience, did know one thing. He wanted his films to have the same quality that his animated films did. that led them to a classic, Treasure Island.
What's come over you, man? Cat got your tongue?
When Walt was little, he had few toys. Now, hobbies became important, and none more so than his love for model trains. There were other train buffs at the studio, including Ollie Johnston and Ward Kimball.
And Ward realized that he had never invited the boss to come out and see the railroad in the backyard.
And he read it, and I can remember how his mouth dropped open. So he calls me early in the morning, and he says, "How would you like to go back to the Chicago Railroad Fair?" We rode in the cab, and I took movies of that. And Walt was over the engineer, and it was a diesel. The engineer said, "Well, when you see a sign out the side, you're supposed to blow the whistle." So he got a kick out of blowing the whistle.
Walt decided he had to have a live steam layout for himself.
Lily's idea of a nicely landscaped home didn't include a railroad, so Walt laid the track in such a way that it wouldn't interfere with her flower beds. Before long, Walt had his train. It was 1/8 scale. Walt called it the Carrollwood Pacific Railroad.
And to ride on the Carrollwood Pacific Railroad was a treasured experience. No one had a backyard like this anywhere in the country.
Walt built a barn on his property, which closely resembled the Disney barn in Marceline, as he remembered it. It became his machine shop, where he worked on trains and miniatures until late in the night. No matter how famous or successful Walt became, his taste stayed plain and simple, at home and when he traveled.
Walt would always take with him Chilean beans in cans because he loved that, and he couldn't get good Chilean beans in London. He could get gourmet food, but that always tickled me. You'd have dinner in his suite in the hotel, and he'd have the waiter get the cans of Chilean beans, and we'd have the crackers and the whole bit.
Diane and Sharon were teenagers now, but Walt had another big idea that had been growing since his daughters were small.
Well, it came about when my daughters were very young, and Saturday was always Daddy's Day with the two daughters. So we'd start out and try to go someplace.
And then we'd go to the Griffith Park, and there was a beautiful carousel there. It's still there.
As I'd sit there while they rode the merry-go-round, did all these things, sit on a bench, eating peanuts, I felt that there should be something built, some kind of an amusement enterprise built where that the parents and the children could have fun together.
At the time that Walt was thinking about building a park, most amusement parks were not someplace that you'd want to let your kids go on their own. You pretty much, they were kind of dirty, they were kind of seedy. There was a park in Copenhagen called Tivoli, and it struck Walt by being very, very clean, well-run, festive, little popcorn lights on all the buildings everywhere. A lot of the things that sort of came back into Disneyland, I think, also came from Tivoli.
Lucy, she's my little girl, but I have to take care of her, too. Yeah, because I like to make sure that she eats healthy. You know, wholesome grains for energy and a shiny coat. Real beef for protein to help build strong muscles. Even vegetables with vitamins. She only thinks she's getting spoiled.
Healthful, flavorful, Beneful. New Beneful brand by Purina.
Sinus suffering. It starts with a first sign, but your symptoms can worsen as the day goes on. So stop the escalation of sinus symptoms. Take Sudafed 12-Hour at the first sign. Non-drowsy Sudafed 12-Hour releases sinus pressure and keeps it from coming back for a full 12 hours.
Now the first sign of pressure is my last. All day.
Take Sudafed 12 Hour at the first sign.
I have asthma. I also have 2 brothers and a dog, Max, and friends I hang out with. I don't want to miss out because of my asthma.
Singulair can help you control your child's asthma. Singulair is different from many daily inhaled controllers. It's not a steroid, and it's a once-a-day cherry chewable tablet that can help control your child's asthma for a full 24 hours. Singulair is available for children 2 years and older, and also for adults. Singulair should not be used to treat acute asthma attacks. Your child should continue taking their other asthma medicines unless their doctor tells you to stop or change the dose. If symptoms get worse, contact your child's doctor at once. Side effects are generally mild and vary by age and may include headache, flu, runny nose, and ear infection. For more information about Singulair, ask your child's doctor. And ask about adding once-a-day Singulair. Singulair, asthma control that can help you both breathe easier.
To do or not do anything you want. Introducing the Nokia 3285 wireless phone. Nokia, connecting people.
Hey, that's new. Prego pasta bake sauce.
We're about to become a delicious oven-baked dish, my ziti sweetie.
We're not cooked.
Oh! New Prego pasta bake sauce is made specially for uncooked pasta. Just pour it on, add water, bake with cheese, and soon...
Wow!
We're an ooey-gooey oven-baked family favorite. Oh, you look good enough to eat.
Stand in line, Tiger.
New Prego pasta bake sauce. The wow without the work.
Start your engine.
It's Millionaire Sports Superstars Edition. Martina Navratilova, Tony Hawk, Jim Courier, Johnny Bench, Sean Elway, Carl Lewis, Layla Ali, Jeff Gordon, Steve Young, and Charles Barkley. Are we to the million yet? Millionaire Sports Superstars Edition. It all starts tonight, 9/8 Central, only on ABC. Beauty, talent, compassion, values uniting a nation. Values showcased as the Miss America tradition continues for its 81st historic year. 51 women will come together to compete for the honor and glory of the crown. Feel the power of this special event. Miss America Live, hosted by Tony Danza, Saturday 8/7 Central on ABC. The wonderful world of Disney's new season begins with an epic film of miniature proportion.
We are gonna knock them dead!
For the first time on television ever.
It's a bug-eat-bug world out there.
Someone could get hurt.
I think I'm going to vet myself.
Take a ride with the biggest little heroes.
Shoot fly, don't bother me.
A Bug's Life, ABC in 2 weeks, 7/6 Central.
Hey, turn your butt off.
Over the years, the studio had become increasingly bureaucratic, less open to spontaneous ideas. In response, Walt created WED Enterprises for Walter Elias Disney. WED would become the design center behind all the early plans and attractions for Disneyland.
Well, it was his sandbox. He said it was his sandbox. He says, this is where I come to have fun. And we had nothing but fun with Walt. I mean, he was a riot.
And when we'd be working on something, he could hardly stand it. If I'd be soldering something, he would almost want to solder it himself, you know.
Well, at the beginning, it was also money. In fact, he hawked his life insurance and a few other things to get the money to continue to do the things he wanted to do to get the Disneyland project started.
But where would the new park go?
We had 10 sites that we'd looked at. The first site was Harbor at the 5, at the Santa Ana Freeway. And he went for the first site.
While Walt was able to get the park started with his own money, he couldn't afford to actually build it. He saw the solution in television.
The other producers, the rest of the Hollywood community, was scared to death of television. They saw that if people sat home and watched TV for free, that would be a admission ticket not sold at the movie theater.
So Walt really stood out.
So you see, this is the result of being a good boy for 30 years. In December of 1950, Walt had produced his first television show scheduled for Christmas.
The 1 Hour in Wonderland was basically a 1-hour commercial for Alice in Wonderland.
Will it really do magic, Mr. Disney?
Oh, sure. I'm a little rusty, though. Be fine.
Walt produced one more special, but he would not re-enter television for several years. Still, the possibilities never left his mind. By September of 1953, Roy completed a deal with ABC, which granted the television network a 35% stake in Disneyland in return for an investment of $500,000.
What worries me, you know, this new medium, and, well, I just want to assure you that we're not taking it lightly, that it's not going to be...
Walt definitely did not want to host a TV series. Finally, as each study went back and showed that it was Walt had the greatest amount of enthusiasm.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream. That's it, right here. Disneyland.
Shooting Walt's lead-ins was quite the challenge.
Yeah, that's about as nervous as you can get, is when you went through directing Walt on his lead-ins.
I hope you enjoy the show, and incidentally...
Every once in a while, he would get hung up on certain words.
Word aluminum, I guess, was particularly tough for Walt.
That's what I was trying to think of. Aluminium, you know, and he couldn't say it.
For 3 years, Disneyland was the only ABC show in the top 15 rated programs.
When Walt started shooting episodes for Disneyland, he decided to take on the added expense and shoot them in color. Well, color television didn't exist then, but he was smart enough to recognize that it was a good investment.
One of the things that made Davy Crockett really successful and really made the Disneyland series stand out was that it was done on location.
Better split up. We're going to cover the town.
Now, don't you be afraid of tooting
Davy Crockett coonskin caps and other merchandise became the biggest fad in the country, and Fess Parker was one of the nation's top stars.
When I first was sent out by the studio, I couldn't leave my hotel room. I couldn't eat in the restaurant.
The Walt entertained Governor Clement and his wife, and then suddenly he opened up in this little commissary that we had there. He said, "Tell me, Mr. Disney, had you any idea when this magnificent show, Davy Crockett, opened all over the world, that would be the sensational success that it is today?" Everybody in the room was looking at us. And Walt said, he winked at me and he said, "No, we were kind of disappointed. We thought it'd be really big."
Walt had a magic touch with television.
Is there a boat ride?
Get a move on, my head. Yeah, it ain't much further.
He then set out to sketch another original idea, a show just for kids, presented by kids. The Mickey Mouse Club was a groundbreaking effort, programming that respected children's intelligence.
I'd say about 80% of what he had fleshed out in his own handwriting for this show is what we saw in the air.
He wanted us to call him and refer to him as Uncle Walt. And, of course, we all admired him and respected him so much that we called him Mr. Disney.
I understand that he would take his producers around the neighborhood and he would go to the playgrounds and the school areas and say, "See those kids over there? That's what I want to be a Mouseketeer." Well, what he meant was the kids next door. He didn't want any slick professionals.
As a child, he was very much interested in making sure that I wasn't being taken advantage of, and that I always felt that he was concerned that I was having a good time, you know.
In those days, Walt was sort of gathering people, almost like instruments in an orchestra, and he put us all together, but he never passed out the music.
Walt had an uncanny ability to analyze people and to see talents that they didn't even know that they had.
Walt called over and he says, "I want you to do the script for the pirate play." And I had never done any scripting before. I'd done storyboarding at the animation end of it. We used many of the techniques we had learned in the films and applied it to actual third dimension. And when we set up a kind of story in our own mind about what it was, we would establish an imaginary long shot as if we were taking it with a motion picture.
I've always believed that the reason Walt built Disneyland was because he wanted one. He wanted the biggest train layout. He wanted a place for all his toys.
I can remember him saying that, Dick, this picture business is tough because when you finish a movie and you put it in the can, it's finished. But Disneyland will never be finished. We can always make it better. The studio witnessed a massive expansion in the 1950s. Gross revenue zoomed from $6 million in 1950 to $70 million near the end of the decade. Through it all, staffers were stunned that Walt was able to nurture ideas for years, even decades. A cartoon he had drawn in high school inspired a scene in Peter Pan. The little chow dog that Walt had given to Lily in a hat box grew into a sequence in Lady and the Tramp.
He never forgot anything. You had to be careful of something you said 3 years ago. He might bring it out 3 years later.
Walt's first big live-action film production in the United States was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. He made a surprising choice for director Richard Fleischer, the son of Max Fleischer, the creator of Betty Boop and Popeye, and an early competitor of Walt's.
And I couldn't believe that he'd wanted me. I was a young director, had not made a really big, important picture up to that time.
It was done in CinemaScope, which was still new and exciting to audiences then, and in Technicolor. And he hired A-list movie stars to be in it. Kirk Douglas, James Mason, Peter Lorre. These were all prominent names.
While at USC, Diane met a tall, handsome football player named Ron Miller.
Oh, yeah, whenever I first arrived, the first thing on my mind was getting Diane and getting out of there. Because you could tell that both of them, Lily as well, they were sizing me up.
On May 9, 1954, Diane and Ron were married in a small ceremony at the Episcopal Church in Santa Barbara.
When we were going down the aisle together, it was a very small wedding by design, and my sister was my only attendant. He brings me up to the altar, and Ron is there, and I felt a sniffle. I heard a sniffle, and I turned and looked at like that and squeezed my hand, and it was his moment. It was sweet.
Ron left college and entered the Army. Diane lived close nearby in Pacific Grove. When the first baby arrived, Walt was overjoyed to have a grandson. In July of 1955, Walt and Lily celebrated their 30th anniversary at the Golden Horseshoe Saloon in Disneyland, just days before the grand opening. Walt was like a kid at the best birthday party in the world.
At that point, everybody in the room notices that my dad somehow was up in a balcony above the stage. And then he started to climb over the balcony, and he climbed down to the stage. And then he's standing on the stage, and he's just beaming at people.
The people and eyes around the world are focused on these 160 acres here in Anaheim, California. This afternoon, Disneyland, the world's most fabulous kingdom, will be unveiled before an invitational world premiere, and you are guests. Art Linkletter will be your host, and with
a great mishmash of last-minute things that hadn't been done. The cement wasn't hardened. In some places, piles of lumber were here and there.
Well, this job in the next hour and a half is going to be a delight. I feel like...
He had asked me to MC the opening and asked me to pick a couple of my friends to work with him. And I asked my dear friend Ronald Reagan, that I'd traveled with all over the world, to be with me and Walt.
Isn't this a riot today?
Oh, it certainly is.
Main Street, ready for the official opening ceremony.
activity on Main Street has ceased. And now, Walt Disney will step forward to read the dedication of Disneyland.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past. And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world. Thank you.
And then the show opened and history was made. Although the first reviews were not too kind because it was a hot day, there was a certain amount of disorganization.
Let's go into Fantasyland and have some fun.
Let's go.
Goodbye, folks.
True to his word, Walt kept adding to his part.
All done.
Yay! So what should we do for dinner?
Do you know what I've been dreaming about?
No.
An incredible beef stew with carrots, potatoes, tender beef slowly simmered for hours to bring out all the flavor.
No problem.
There's something new from Stouffer's. Slow Fire Classics. Slow simmered recipes so hearty they can only be served in a bowl.
Is this what you were dreaming about?
You're good. You're good.
New Slow Fire Classics from Stouffer's.
Grab it. Pledge grab it mix. Doesn't grab it. It grabs the dust. It holds it. This is fabulous. Your hand is the tool. It's getting into places where a duster wouldn't get into. You feel it grabbing. It picks up the dust. Hair, dirt. Pledge grab it mix. Grabs the dirt. It's getting into the cracks, the crevices, these little points. God forbid I should have a manicure. It would actually protect it. Toss it right in the garbage. Pledge grab it mix.
S.C. Johnson, the family company.
The dust is in the mix.
Grab your friends and head to the Pay Less Buy One, Get One Half Off sale. Save on everything in the store, including our latest fall fashions. The Pay Less Buy One, Get One Half Off sale. Doesn't it feel good?
You were awesome. Yeah, you saw my rebound? Okay, hotshot. Now you gotta clean up.
New Clean and Clear Deep Action Cleansing Wipe with beta hydroxy for a deep down tingly clean. New Deep Action Cleansing Wipe. Clean and clear and under control.
Everyone loves Domino's delicious cheesy bread. Maybe because it's hot breadsticks covered in a tantalizing combination of cheddar and mozzarella cheeses. Who would come up with such a brilliant idea?
My idea. All mine.
And if you call now, you can get a delicious order of cheesy bread free. That's right, free when you buy a large one-topping pizza for $9.99. Now, where do you suppose that idea came from?
My idea. All mine.
Make it a meal with wings and a 2-liter Coke. Get the door. It's Domino's.
On Wednesday the 26th, TV's hit family comedy is back.
It don't shine like my behind.
And we thought it wouldn't hurt to have a 1-hour premiere with the surprising pregnancy flashback. My Wife and Kids premieres Wednesday, September 26th, 8/7 Central on ABC.
Next Sunday, it's the comedy hit that proves true love comes in many disguises.
Somebody stop me.
Jim Carrey, Cameron Diaz.
Kiss me, my dear.
Together, heat up the screens.
Okay.
The Mask, next Sunday, 7/6 Central on ABC.
It's party time.
Alias, ABC in 2 weeks, 9/8 Central.
My, what big calories you have. My, what low-calorie taste you have. My. This one's just right.
My, what big eyes you have.
You have no idea.
Great tasting 1-calorie Pepsi 1. This one's just right.
Having just one way to express yourself can be frustrating. That's why Cingular Wireless offers a range of airtime options. Choose two and create your own plan. Sign up now and get a deal on a cool Nokia. Cingular Wireless. What do you have to say?
Inspired technologies and moving performance. With the confidence of a 275 horsepower Northstar V8. It's the Cadillac DeVille, and now's a great time to put yourself behind the wheel. Drive a DeVille today. The fusion of design and technology. Cadillac.
Traffic and weather together. Eyewitness News Daybreak starting at 5 a.m.
Now we turn to the wonderful world of Disney.
Walt continued to wait for a grandson to bear his name. After Christopher, Diane had 3 daughters. Finally, in November of 1961, along came another boy.
I remember when Walt came into my studio and he had a box of cigars and he was passing them out. And on those cigars it said Walter Elias Disney Miller. And he was beaming and he was very proud of that.
Sharon had been dating an architect named Robert Brown. They were married on May 10, 1959 in Pacific Palisades. For a long time, Bob resisted Walt's offers to join the studio. But in 1963, he relented and became a key planner at WED.
Well, a beautiful tomorrow, just a dream away. That says we're going places. There's progress ahead.
The World's Fair was a great opportunity for Walt, and he saw something that none of us realized at the time. He already was planning to do something in the eastern part of the country.
Walt foresaw that money spent on big corporate pavilions would enable WED to develop a range of new ideas and technologies.
You see, our whole 40-some-odd years here has been in the world of making things move, inanimate things move. Now we're making these human figures, dimensional human figures move, make animals move, make anything move, through the use of electronics.
You know, when Lincoln was first in the show, many people thought it was an actor. They just swore it wasn't really an animated, thing.
WED was also commissioned to create the pavilion and attractions for Ford and General Electric. Then, just 1 year before the fair opened, Pepsi-Cola approached WED about an exhibit for UNICEF.
He said, there's another piece of real estate left. And he said, at the World's Fair, and he said, I think we'll get that piece of real estate. And we all kind of looked at him. There was only 5 of us in there. And he said, I want to do a little boat ride for children. And we thought, God, what's he talking about? Here we're doing animatronic figures, and he wants to do a little boat ride. And we just thought, what's this all about? But we opened it 9 months to the date that Walt came in, and there's never been an attraction ever designed and built and installed in 9 months.
When the fair closed, the exhibits were transferred to Disneyland.
The entire Disney team has been called on to develop entertaining and exciting attractions.
As Walt's attention was diverted by television, Disneyland, and the World's Fair, motion pictures were no longer his principal concern, with one exception. One night, when Diane was small, she introduced him to a book called Mary Poppins by the British author P.L. Travers. He paid a call to her humble home near Kings Road in Chelsea, and the two got along very well.
He clearly worked his charm on Mrs. Travers, because by the time the meeting had come to an end, she was prepared to discuss how the film might be made, but only as a live-action film.
He saw Julie Andrews and he said, that's exactly the right woman to play Mary Poppins. Dick Van Dyke was already successful on television and had made a success in movies like Bye Bye Birdie. But this film gave him the greatest role of his career.
He was like a kid. He was so excited about it. And by the time I left there, I was excited about it. He had me so. I wanted to be a part of that movie so much.
He had already gotten out of the Sherman Brothers delightful songs for TV shows, for records, but he inspired with Mary Poppins.
Well, God must have sat in the room with us, and we wrote this song, Feed the Birds, Tuppence a Bag. We felt very strongly about it. And one of the first things we ever played for Walt, we said that we feel that the theme of the picture could be doing that little extra something.
Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag.
Fridays after work, we come down to the office and we talk a while, and he'd look through the north window and he'd say, play it. And we knew what he meant.
We've discussed everything, and we're very sorry about what we did today.
I should say.
And for me as a child, I remember him wanting me to stay natural and normal and innocent. And I think that was one of the gifts that he gave me, that it was okay to be innocent. You didn't have to pretend you were a grown-up. Be a kid. It was magic. All the time, it was magic.
Technically, he was doing some things that were way ahead of his time. Some of the, what is now blue screen effects, I don't think anyone had ever done before. At that time, it was against a yellow sodium lit screen. So everything had to be very, very precise.
Never did he allow a movie to have new technology or some look without it being in the service of the story. The story was everything. And those great characters. You want to be swept away in this world of fantasy. And that's what Walt always did so well.
Mary Poppins went on to garner 13 Academy Award nominations, 5 of which became Oscar wins. The film produced a worldwide box office of $44 million, an astounding amount in the mid-60s, and more than any Disney feature had ever made.
Occasionally, we'd spend the night down in Disneyland in the apartment above the firehouse there, and that was a fairly unique experience. It was basically like waking up in the morning and having your dream continue.
We spent a lot of time in that little apartment. I can remember sitting there, he doing the things he needed to be doing, whether it was reading or just sitting out on the patio.
Walt was thinking of the world his grandchildren would grow up in. What if all that Wed had learned about people and space and transportation could be put to good use? Not only for a theme park, but a community, a real city as well.
He wanted to try improving the environment, the urban setting. And he was full of ideas on what that place would be like. It would not be just a park. It would be in the setting of an urban experiment.
Epcot will take its cue from the new ideas and new technologies that are now emerging from the creative centers of American industry. It will be a community of tomorrow that will never be completed, but will always be introducing and testing and demonstrating new materials and new systems.
Walt's design for Epcot, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, called for a central hotel and administrative complex surrounded by a large suburban area. Early sketches give some idea of what the area would look like.
This would be the Genesis place where truly we as a big world civilization could actually make a really nice place to go live.
So that's what Epcot is, an experimental prototype community that will always be in a state of becoming.
Another major project of this time was Cal Arts. Since the late 50s, when Chouinard fell on hard times, Walt had been supporting the school. Now he envisioned combining Chouinard with the Los Angeles Conservatory of Music to create a school where music, art, film, dance, and theater would come together and cross-pollinate one another.
Yep. Got it at Kia September clearance event. Well, I love my Toyota Corolla. I just got AC installed. AC came standard with ours. Power windows, power locks. Standard, hand standard. Does a 5-year warranty come standard? No. Figures. But a 10-year warranty does. Plus, we got $1,500 cash back, which means we paid about $2,000 less than you. $2,000. Oh, nice. Oh, my gosh. Annie, are you okay?
Get amazing deals on 2001 models during Kia September clearance event. Hurry. Event ends October 1st.
You'll love Ziploc Easy Zipper. Just easy zipper it, and you know it's closed. Ziploc Easy Zipper. Easy open, easy close. Easy zipper.
Hi, I'm Doug Flutie, pro football player and father of an autistic child. I started the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation to help less fortunate families of autistic children get the support they need. Here's a way you can help. Just dial 1010-220. All calls up to 20 minutes are only 99 cents, and 1010-220 will make a donation to the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation every time you use it. So dial 1010-220, get up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents, and help some great kids at the same time. It's a win-win situation.
Having too much wine with dinner? Serve up Roni, Pasta Roni, Angel Hair Parmesan, and you'll hear,
More, please.
Roni, leave the wine behind.
Another rollback saves the day by saving you even more. Walmart, always low prices, always.
I'm the deputy mayor of the world!
In the summer of 1966, Walt organized a vacation for the entire family. He rented a 140-foot yacht, complete with crew, for a leisurely cruise from Vancouver.
And it was so wonderful because it was all my children, from Chris down to little 2-year-old Ronnie, Sharon and Bob, my sister and brother-in-law, and their little baby, Victoria, who was about 6 months old, and Mother and Dad all on this boat. We celebrated Tammy's birthday, July 3rd, on that boat, and then my parents' wedding anniversary 10 days later.
When Ron and Walt found a quiet moment to talk, Walt told him he was going to focus on Epcot and Cal Arts.
And he once said to me, he said, you know, I think I need about 15 years. If I could have 15 years, I can complete this project. And at that time, he said, you know, I'm just going to turn over the films to you people. I think you can do a good job. I have confidence in you. But I have to concentrate on Epcot.
Webb was also busy designing a ski resort called Mineral King near Sequoia National Park. And in September of 1966, Walt joined Governor Edmund G. Brown for a press conference on the project.
We hope that we can develop it in such a way that the families can come up here and have access to this great, wonderful wilderness area.
Journalists who attended the event were struck by Walt's appearance. Walt looked gaunt and drawn, but no one suspected there was something far more serious ahead.
I was doing a storyboard, and the room was filled with my crew and so forth, and he got in a coughing jag, and his face turned red, and he kind of bent over, and I said, "For gosh sakes, Walt, why don't you give up smoking?" And he said, "Well, the guy's got to have a few vices, don't he?"
He was going to have surgery on the back of his neck. That was set. They were going to fix this problem that the old polo injury was causing. And my mother came to my door one morning. She said, they took an x-ray of your father's lung and they found a lump the size of a walnut.
Walt's doctors recommended that he immediately undergo surgery.
Then we turned to him and said, "Are you worried about going to the hospital?" And Walt said, "You're damn right I am." And we thought he was going in because of his old polo injury, but that wasn't it.
So we were all there sitting in the room. And the surgeon came in after the surgery, and he said, "Well, it was just as I suspected. The tumor had metastasized. I give him 6 months to 2 years." Of course, it was like dropping a bomb in that room. To me, the most poignant story of this whole last time was his last visit to the studio lot. Just looking at this place that he had built, these people that he brought along, done these amazing things, and knowing he had to leave it all behind.
And then he stopped about 20 feet away, and he turned, and he said, "Goodbye, Mark." But he never said that to anybody before.
Roy Disney explained to me that his last visit to Walt in the hospital, he said, "I knew I was going to lose my brother then." He said, because here he was talking very excited about the Florida project. Walt saw the complete map, evidently, of the Florida project on the ceiling above his bed.
The elevator on the floor, and I saw Ron go striding into Dad's room and then come out with his arms up like that, as though someone pushed him back. And when we went into the room, I don't really, Dad, his hands were on his chest, and he was gone, and Uncle Roy was standing at the foot of his bed, and he was massaging one of Dad's feet, just kind of caressing it, and he was talking to him, And I don't know, it sounds like something like, "Well, kid, this is the end, I guess," and that sort of thing. And I saw his love. I've never seen it before.
It was 9:30 a.m. on December 15th, just 10 days after his 65th birthday.
I cried in my wife's lap.
It put an end to a marvelous era.
I think everybody remembers where they were when Walt Disney died. I was at work, working for him, but it was one of those sort of Princess Diana moments that, such a shock, such a huge shock.
news of his death reverberated around the world. Newspapers from New York to Paris reflected on his immense role in the shaping of 20th century entertainment.
Just an ordinary man with the most extraordinary talent of making you feel that you were important, when in actual fact he was the one.
This was a man that had one foot in the past because he loved the nostalgia, and one foot in the future because he loved the technology.
I mean, here is a man who had scant education. You know, his parents were not exceptional people, except in their character. He was not much of an artist, but somewhere came this amazing factor of knowing what drama and comedy was. And so I'm afraid we're just going to have to say, well, Walt Disney, genius, period.
Art means a lot to me in that something will never be finished, something that I can keep developing, keep plussing and adding to. It's alive, be a live, breathing thing that will need changes. The thing will get more beautiful every year.
The first animated motion picture ever created is now one of the best DVDs ever.
Prepare yourself to enter a world you have only imagined.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on Disney DVD October 9th.
Scott, we just made the best Scott towel ever.
With new wide ridges.
So we thought we'd take them to lunch. Try them out.
They're great with chowder.
Keep on far.
Cool. See, only Scott has these unique ridges that absorb even faster than you know who. From truck to sea bass, a better Scott towel just makes more sense.
New Scott towels with wide ridges.
And when do we?
Lift the flavor, Jolly Rancher Cherry.
This is hands down my favorite place to catch a movie. Nice, comfy seats, and it's got great RCA digital technology.
You know what I like best, Bing?
What?
I never have to get up to get popcorn.
Come to Radio Shack and get an RCA combination DVD, CD, MP3 player for just $159.99 and bring the movie experience home. Radio Shack. You've got questions. We've got answers.
Comfort. It's what makes your baby happy. That's why there's Carnation Good Start, the only routine formula whose proteins are broken down to be easy to digest. They're called Comfort Proteins, and only Good Start has them. Carnation Good Start from Nestle.
One of these women uses Suave Professional's Awapui shampoo. The other pays more for Paul Mitchell Awapui. Both have hair that's shiny and soft. So who is who? If you can't tell, why should we? Suave. Don't you look smart?
Having too much wine with dinner? Serve up Roni, Pasta Roni, Angel Hair Parmesan, and you'll hear,
More, please.
Roni, leave the wine behind.
They tried our refreshing blue flavor. They tried our minty green flavor. Then we told them both were Listerine. Cool Mint and Fresh Burst Listerine. All of Listerine's germ-killing power with great taste.
Find out more about Walt Disney with the companion book, Inside the Dream, the personal story of Walt Disney, available September 24th. The Wonderful World of Disney's new season begins with an epic film of miniature proportions.
We are gonna knock them am dead!
For the first time on television ever,
It's a bug-eat-bug world out there.
Someone could get hurt.
I think I'm going to vet myself.
take a ride with the biggest little heroes.
Shoo fly, don't bother me.
A Bug's Life, ABC in 2 weeks, 7/6 Central.
Hey, turn your butt off.
Walt was a man whose creativity and vision made the world a happier place. And in this time of great sadness, we commit that Walt's vision will continue to provide us with a legacy that brings smiles to the faces and joy to the hearts of people everywhere. Tonight, America continues to mourn. But as Walt said in 1941 from the Metropolitan Opera House in New York, tomorrow will be better. For as long as America keeps alive the ideals of freedom and a better life, all men will want to be free and share our way of life. I thank God and America, he said, for the right to live and raise my family under the flag of tolerance, democracy, and freedom.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. Because there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the
If you had it to do over again, would you do any part of it differently?
Well, if I had it to do over again, I think, no, I don't think it would. I don't know. I hope I don't have to do it over again.
Free reign around the ICU and meeting nurses, meeting doctors, porters, everybody. The reason we wanted to get in there was we just wanted to put a human face on all these people.